This video is sponsored by Keeper Security. Okay folks, we are back at it, and this time around we are going to pit the well-established Samsung Galaxy Tab S9 against this potential flagship killer, the OnePlus Pad 2. Let's jump in. First things first, for a tablet that does not claim to be a flagship device, the OnePlus Pad 2 here certainly seems to be loaded with attributes, specifically specs, that make it easily comparable to a pro tablet like we are doing today, and that's in spite of the price. As a matter of fact, let's start there. It will run you about $550 for the tablet alone, and that's just the regular price without counting any potential discounts that you may encounter on the website. Say you want to go ahead and add the OnePlus Stylo 2, that's going to run you an additional $100 for a grand total of $650 for this package, meaning the tablet and the stylus. Now, if you want to go ahead and make it a more complete package, then you could go ahead and add yourself the keyboard case that we have here, and that's going to run you an additional $150. That's without, again, accounting for any discounts that may be running on the website, for a grand total of $800. You get the case, so all of these accessories, so the case, the Stylo 2, and the tablet. Now, one disappointment to some of you guys there is the fact that you only get one config, 256 gigs of non-expandable internal storage along with 12 gigs of RAM. It's a OnePlus decision that I still question till today. Only one config. Now, on the other hand, you have the Samsung Galaxy Tab S9 here. That's going to run you $800, which is its regular price, and that price does include both the tablet and a Samsung S Pen, which frankly is a much better stylus when compared to the Stylo 2 found on the Pad 2 here. Also, unlike the OnePlus Pad 2, you do have different config tiers available. The 128 gigs of internal storage with 8 gigs of RAM, and the 256 gigs of internal storage with 12 gigs of RAM. And on top of that, you do have the ability to expand that internal storage at up to 1 terabyte using a micro SD card. Now, let's go ahead and talk design here, and for that, I want to be clear here. You will like what you like, and I'm going to like what I like. Essentially, what I'm trying to say is that design is going to be subjective. But in the end, they both are beautiful tablets in their own right. And by the way, if this is your first time visiting, welcome to the channel. Of course, please do me a favor, hit both the like and the subscribe button there. I truly appreciate that. All right, so the OnePlus Pad 2 here is different from what we are accustomed to, right? With that big eye camera splattered in the middle of the back there, it also has round edges. It's light but somewhat dense. It has a brushed feel to it, and it also shares some level of premium to the build quality. The Tab S9, on the other hand, is following the design refresh that Samsung has implemented on its latest flagship tablet. A much boxier device when compared to the OnePlus Pad 2 that we have here, a more discreet camera module at the top left on the back of the tablet there, which by the way is just a single lens this time around, because if you remember, the previous gen had a dual setup for the camera. The S9 is boasting sharper edges, it's light and dense, also with a brushed back just like we found on the Pad 2, but in hands, the Tab S9 objectively feels more premium than the OnePlus Pad 2. Now, they are very different tablets, but they also do share a ton of similarities, anywhere from, the power button, volume rockers, pogo pins to snap, onto the keyboard covers, multiple mics, but there are some key differences on those physical features that they both share. For example, you will find a quad speaker setup on either one of these two tablets with great sound quality, but somehow the Pad 2 here seems to be louder. They both have USB Type-C ports, and both supports USB 3.2 for faster data transfer. This, by the way, is an upgrade on the Pad 2 here, because the previous iteration of this tablet only supported USB Type-C 2.0. Now, continuing with the physical attributes here, the Galaxy Tab S9 here no longer supports the physical fingerprint sensor that we had on the Tab S8. Now you have an under-display fingerprint sensor, which works pretty well. It's wicked fast, and it is also secure. Now on the Pad 2 here, no fingerprint sensors. You will have to make use of password, and it works also. Now, Let's go ahead and move on to something a bit more exciting, the displays. This time around, the baby of Samsung's flagship tablet supports an OLED display. Actually, let's be precise here, an 11-inch dynamic AMOLED 2X display, and it is just spectacular. It supports 120Hz refresh rate with a resolution of 1600 by 2560, along with a 16 by 10 aspect ratio. Now, this is important to highlight because the aspect ratio on the OnePlus Pad, on the other hand, is actually a 7 by 5, which is kind of unusual, and it's also better for apps like Instagram. The size, on the other hand, on the display of the Pad 2 here is 12.1 inches, so slightly bigger than what you have on the S9 here, and it is an IPS LCD that has a resolution of 2000 by 2800 and can support at up to 144 Hz refresh rate on some of OnePlus's approved applications. Images are sharp, colors are vibrant and very well pronounced on both displays, but at the end of the day, the display on the Tab S9 is simply better. I mean, no questions there. An OLED display with inky reds, inky black, super smooth. I mean, Samsung, went all out on this. Now let's go ahead and move on to the next part here. That'll be the internal specs and performance, and this is the heart of the video. And by the way, in today's digital landscape, keeping your online account secure is more important than ever. And Keeper Security is here to help. With Keeper, your data is encrypted and decrypted locally on your device, meaning your sensitive information never leaves your control. And with their zero-knowledge security, your passwords, credit cards, and personal files are stored without ever being visible to anyone else. Not even Keeper. What's even better? Keeper offers an intuitive password generator to create strong, unique passwords for every account. Plus, Keeper is accessible on all of your devices, meaning you can manage and secure your passwords no matter where you are. Get 50% off when using my discount code IvanCam50, all in one word, at checkout, or try Keeper for free for 30 days. I'll make sure that I keep the link in the description. But anyway, so let's go ahead and start off with the Pad 2 here. Now, it's shocking to see a device that does not claim to be a flagship device be loaded with a chip only found on the current flagship devices. It's boasting a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 coupled with 12 gigs of RAM, and you just have to admit that this is truly impressive, especially for something that is priced at $550. Now, my experience so far has been excellent. I have zero complaints as far as performance goes. It's been very, very good. Everything has been well optimized to have or to offer a pleasant experience. Even for those looking for a high performance, high productivity experience, you definitely can find that in this very well priced tablet. The Galaxy Tab S9, on the other hand, is boasting also a Snapdragon 8, but this is a Gen 2, so the generation right before the chip that is found on the Pad 2 here, but it's still a flagship and very relevant chipset. It will be coupled with either 8 gigs or 12 gigs of RAM, as I mentioned earlier. And again, performance on the Tab S9 here is fantastic. It is top-notch. As I mentioned, it's still a very relevant chip, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 that you find here. But when you put them side by side, well, I should say, as a matter of fact, when you put them side by side for just daily runs of your devices, you won't be able to notice a difference, right? Opening little apps, running things, navigating the internet, doing little things like that. You won't necessarily notice a major difference. That said, when it comes down to opening extremely large files or even rendering videos, that's where you will start noticing the Pad 2 performance pulling away from that of the Tab S9. But what it tells you is that the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 for Galaxy loaded in the Tab S9 here has been so very well optimized, so much so that it almost keeps up with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 here, not as optimized as this one that is tailored for the Galaxy. Now, don't get me wrong, as far as raw performance, the Pad 2 here certainly outperforms the Tab S9, and that is the bottom line. But as far as user experience goes, they both are super smooth and can tackle all productivity tasks with zero issues, right? I've talked about video editing, right? You can do that. Gaming is fantastic on either one of these two tablets. You can play all types of games, light, medium, heavy games. No issues there. Multitasking is better, however, on the Tab S9, and you can do a bit more than you would be able to do with the Pad 2. And by the way, the Pad 2 also is very good at multitasking. But when you start using things like Samsung DeX on the Tab S9, that's when, you know, it kind of leaves the Pad 2 in the dust. Also, the S Pen is simply an overall better stylus when compared to the OnePlus Stylo 2 that you have on the Pad 2 here. Now, they both will be running Android 14, and on the OnePlus Pad 2, we have the Oxygen OS skin sitting on top, which I find to be very nice. It's very clean, by the way. It's a clean look, and it doesn't gear too far away from stock Android, which is a great thing, especially for Android people like myself. It offers a user experience that leans more towards what you would get from an iPad, right? On the Tab S9, the skin that you have here is One UI, which is also silky smooth. I mean, they've been working on this thing for years. The animations are just better on One UI here. I mean, they've been working on this for years, so it's a more established, you know, skin or UI to play with. Samsung also does offer 5 years of security updates and OS support versus the OnePlus Pad 2 that offers 3 and 4 years respectively. Finally, of course, we have the cameras. On the Pad 2, you have a 13 megapixel main camera on the back here, which is a single wide angle lens, then an 8 megapixel selfie camera on the front. On the S9, you also have a wide-angle lens, also 13 megapixel on the back of the tablet, and on the front you have a 12 megapixel ultra-wide lens with auto framing. In my experience, I do find the Tab S9 camera to be a bit more stable and to perform better with better or slightly better pronounced colors, especially when in well-lit environments. But remember, these are not set to be top-notch cameras. Now, in terms of battery, I get a slightly longer battery life on the OnePlus Pad, which kind of makes sense, right? It's a larger battery. Although the tablet is a bit large, still, it's a larger battery as opposed to the 8,000 milliamp hour you get on the Tab S9. You get 9,510 on the Pad 2 here. Now, all of this said, you have to keep in mind that this is all going to be subjective depending on how you use your tablet, right? So some people might see much longer battery life, some people might see less battery life depending on how they use the tablet. Now, I do want to add one thing as I'm coming close to the end of this video. I'm going to say something that I've said before and I continue to say, and I'm going to say that again today. When it comes down to purchasing a tablet or a phone, whatever, tech product, what you need to do is have a very comprehensive approach at researching before you purchase the device, right? It will depend on your needs, and it will also depend on what the device is offering you overall, right? It's not just enough to say, well, this device has this one thing that this one doesn't, so I'm gonna go for this one. You should have a comprehensive take at the whole thing. And this ties to this comparison. Why? Because even though the Pad 2 here is a better performer, the Tab S9 seems to offer a more comprehensive package, especially when you include the ecosystem along with the additional, software not available, like Samsung DeX not available on here. That said, if you are looking for value, if you're just looking for straight value with as much performance, as much raw performance as you can get with less money, the Pad 2 would be the way to go. However, if you're looking for something stable, something that is supported longer, something that has a robust ecosystem, and something that keeps value longer, then the Tab S9 here will be the way to go. And when I say keep value longer, I mean, when it comes down to trade-in and things like that, you could probably get more from the Samsung tablet. I'm certainly hoping that this was informative. Let me know what any questions you may have in the comments section. Let me know if you own either one of these two. Let me know what your take is on here. Share the video if you know anyone who will be interested. And also, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I truly appreciate that. I'm going to catch you in the comment section. I'm also going to catch you in the next video. Up until that next video, of course, as always, stay safe out there.